Hey, good morning. Today is another one of our first fives. So today we're looking at Matthew chapter 10. And really the entire chapter is centered around this idea that Jesus takes his 12 disciples and he sends them out. And he sends them to go heal people, to drive out demons, in other words, to help people see the fullness of God's kingdom in their everyday life. And so we see all kinds of stuff Jesus says. And frankly, if I read the whole chapter, it'd be more than 5 minutes just reading that chapter. So I'm going to read you just a few verses, beginning with verse 26. Jesus says this, talking about those who may come against his disciples, those who may speak against them or even come after them. He says these words, "So do not be afraid of them. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the will of your Father. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You're worth more than many sparrows. Whoever acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge him before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before men, I'll disown him before my Father in heaven." All right, so you see all throughout this, Jesus begins with this simple idea that what we think may be secret, what happens in dark places, what's hidden will eventually be revealed. And so for some of us, that's things in our heart. For some of us, that's things we have done. For some of us, that really scares us to death. But what he's saying is this, that when it comes into the light, it can no longer be known by darkness. When those things that seem shameful, that seem destructive, are brought to the forefront, you can tell people about it without shame or guilt because you've come to know Jesus. He goes on to say this, don't be afraid of all those kind of things. Don't be afraid of someone who could kill you. Because frankly, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. But he says this, live with a reverence when it comes to God the Father who can kill both body and soul. It's not that this Jesus wanted to be fearful here and want us to be afraid. It's this idea that live with putting proper things in their proper place. Perspective matters. Jesus wants us to know we don't have to live fearful of the world around us because we can live knowing the Father's love. And he goes on to say this, don't be afraid. You're worth more than many sparrows. I'm not even sure which birds are sparrows, but I know they're really small and I know they're not worth much. What Jesus says is, listen, you're worth more than all those birds. You're worth more than all creation. You are the pinnacle of my creation. You're the pinnacle of what my Father has created. And then he goes on to say something to us that I think sometimes is difficult for us. Always acknowledge him. If we're followers of Jesus, we should live in such a way that it is evident to others. And if we're living as if it isn't evident, I think that's really the heartbeat of what he's saying here. Then if you're not going to acknowledge me before my Father, I'm not going to acknowledge you before my Father if you don't live around others in a way in which you acknowledge me. But as followers of Jesus, we live every day either acknowledging that we are disciples of Jesus, or we live every day just saying, we're like Peter, I don't really know that guy. I don't really know who he is. I live how I want to live. What Jesus says this, if we do that, and he'll say to his Father, I never knew you. Thus the invitation is simple. We're called to live as a people not afraid. We're called to live and share the good news of Jesus, how he's come to bring God's kingdom to earth, how what we see around us so often isn't the reality that God desires for us. Instead, God's doing a new thing. God's redeeming and restoring. And God's making all things new. And you and I are called to tell the story of Jesus, invite others to know him, and then live in such a way that we will acknowledge Jesus before all other people. So may you find today that you live in such a way that you're not afraid. May you not be shamed of anything in the past. May you tell the truth. May you recognize that nothing that is hidden will stay hidden. All will be revealed. And may you and I live in such a way that it's evident to all that we are acknowledging Jesus is Lord. May you find God's grace and peace and love with you this day. We'll see you tomorrow.